Welcome on board, Chosen One. Funny how you walked into this world thinking you were average, while entire institutions are out here scrambling because you accidentally did something they spent decades breaking their backs to achieve. And the best part, you didn't even notice. You were zoned out, half awake, maybe annoyed, maybe bored. Meanwhile, elite units were whispering. What do you mean they did that without training? Oh, look, the legends need to bow. The experts need to sit down. The highly trained ones are suddenly trying to understand how someone like you just bypassed everything they were taught. You want to pay this message back? Smash the like button and subscribe so the universe knows you are not sleeping on your own story. Now, let's get into the part that makes your enemies choke. Because somewhere out there, behind locked doors and polished badges, there is a room full of military elites, replaying footage of you, veterans with medals pinned to their chests. Analysts who spent half their lives calculating human behavior. Tactical specialists who believe discipline is the only path to power. They are all gathered around a screen, watching you move like someone who never needed their rules in the first place. Watching you react with instincts they cannot teach. Watching you operate with clarity they didn't think a regular person could ever possess. One of them probably slammed a folder closed, another cleared his throat, and one in the back whispered something no one wanted to say out loud. This one's different because the truth hits painful when it is undeniable. And the truth is that your enemies never understood what you were built from. They saw your choir days as weakness. They saw your overthinking as instability. They saw your silence as surrender. They mocked your pauses, laughed at your confusion, clowned your exhaustion. Meanwhile, those same traits were sharpening you into something they were never ready to face. A weapon shaped by the universe itself, not by a training camp. They said you were too emotional, cute. Those emotions are the same ones that taught you how to read danger before it arrives. They said you overreact. No, you overdetect. They said you think too much. Translation: your brain doesn't wait for the shooting range to practice accuracy. It studies people in real time. It analyzes patterns in silence. It memorizes lies by how they blink. It predicts motives before they form. You were never taught this. You were forged by the exact chaos that others assumed would break you. Let me tell you something your enemies hope you never realize. When you were sitting alone all those nights feeling like life was punishing you, you were actually in a training arena no school could replicate. Every betrayal became a study. Every insult became data. Every heartbreak became a psychological blueprint. And while they were busy flexing on social media, you were learning how to see through people, how to sense energy shifts, how to detect manipulation before the first sentence even drops. Decades of military strategy learned by you through life itself. And here is the part that makes them sweat for real. You don't even brag. You don't wave your strength around. You don't shout your accomplishments. You simply exist. And that alone is enough to throw trained professionals into confusion because they don't know how to categorize someone who didn't go through their filters but still surpassed their outcomes. Must be luck, they mutter. Must be coincidence. Must be a glitch. Nah, it is not luck. It is not coincidence. It is not a glitch. It is you being the kind of person the universe accidentally made too sharp. Let's talk history for a second. You ever notice how legends, the real ones, always looked like they were messing up their whole lives before suddenly everything clicked? That is because their breakthrough wasn't taught. It was unavoidable. They outgrew their surroundings in silence. They built power without realizing it. They walked through storms that trained them harder than any military textbook, and one day they snapped into place. And the world said, wait, how long were you hiding this? You are in that phase right now. This is the moment after the storm, where everything is quieter than it should be. People who used to poke at you suddenly keep their distance. People who mocked you now replay the things you said. People who underestimated you start whispering your name like it is classified information. That silence, it is not peace. It is shock, and your enemies feel it worst. They know they cannot run the same games anymore. They know you see too much. They know you are no longer the version of yourself they thought they could control. Here is the reveal. You nailed something by accident, something rare, something powerful, something entire elite units spend their lives chasing: instinct, awareness, strategic thinking. Emotional intelligence so sharp, it feels supernatural. Pattern recognition that hits before intention forms. You didn't study this, you lived it. And now they are scared because they know once a person becomes aware of their own power. It is over. Take a breath, chosen one. Not because you are overwhelmed, but because you are finally standing in the aftermath of your own evolution. The world is adjusting to you now, not the other way around. And now, chosen one. Before we move any deeper into this, I need you right here with me. You just shook a system that spent entire decades training warriors to do what you pulled off while half distracted. And trust me, that kind of power deserves a moment of awareness. If you are ready to claim the strength you didn't even realize you were carrying, drop a 100 in the comments, so I know you are one of the rare minds who isn't scared of their own potential. And while you are at it, hit that like button and subscribe, so this message gets amplified instead of buried. The universe watches who chooses themselves. Because what is coming next isn't cute. It is the breakdown of how you moved like a trained operative without a single hour of their school. If you are really the one who nailed what elites spent years suffering for, you will feel the pull to stay until the very last word. This is where it gets surgical. This is where everything clicks. Let's begin. Number 1. Built in the fire they trained for. Funny how they spent decades preparing for a battle you survived before you even knew it was a battle. They thought you were harmless. That is the hilarious part. They assumed anyone who didn't go through their boot camps, their drills, their mind-numbing routines must be soft. Meanwhile, you were out here getting trained by life with no warning, no safety nets, and no instructors standing by to yell, "Reset." They memorized protocols. You memorized pain. They earned badges. You earned scars. Guess which one lasts longer? Guess which one creates instincts they cannot replicate, even with their elite curriculum? See, they call this stuff situational awareness, tactical intuition, psychological reading, environmental scanning. They give it fancy names, so it sounds like it belongs to them. But you have had the raw version since childhood, back when nobody praised you for it, back when people mocked you for being too alert, too sensitive, too reactive. What they didn't realize is that every insult was aimed at a skill they couldn't comprehend. A skill they would spend years trying to unlock. You didn't look like a soldier, so they assumed you weren't one cute mistake. But let's get real about something deeper. You didn't just wake up with this ability. The universe didn't hand it to you gift-wrapped. You were built through things that the military studies in controlled simulations. You felt danger in real time, not in a training room with rubber knives and staged enemies. You navigated unpredictable humans, unstable dynamics, silent betrayals, sudden shifts. They practiced on actors. You practiced on life, and life hits harder than any drill sergeant. And here is the gut-twisting truth they hate. Your instincts came from surviving environments they only teach about. Your awareness came from reading people whose motives weren't part of a script. Your strength came from holding yourself together when nobody else was coming there to fix anything. They don't like that story. It threatens their whole system, because if someone like you can do what they do without their years of structure, it means their hierarchy is a lie. Their expert status becomes a joke. It means a person forged in everyday chaos can be more dangerous, more intuitive, more effective than someone polished in their institutions. Now you might wonder, but why me? Why did I pick things up so fast? Why did I see through people so early? Simple. You didn't get a childhood that allowed you to relax. You had to read the room before you played in it. You had to analyze adults before you trusted them. You had to detect tension before it exploded. You weren't playing. You were surviving. A child forced into awareness becomes an adult with radar built into their bones. Meanwhile, soldiers spent years learning to clear a room, track threats, stay calm, predict behavior. You learned that staying in the wrong room could emotionally destroy you. You learned that the threat might smile at you. You learned that the unpredictable one wasn't holding a weapon. They were holding influence. Your battlefield wasn't physical, but it demanded the same level of precision. No drill sergeant could have taught you what your life did. This is what makes the enemy furious. They mastered techniques. You mastered outcomes. They memorized patterns. You predicted them naturally. They trained their bodies. You trained your mind without realizing it. When you walk into a room now, people feel it before you speak, and they don't even know what they are feeling. It is the presence built from years of reading danger without flinching. It is the quiet confidence of someone who already faced the worst-case scenarios and lived to talk about them. Elite forces call this command presence. You call it, "I don't have time for nonsense." Let's tear their ego down further. You didn't crumble when abandoned. You didn't fold when betrayed. You didn't quit when exhausted. Everything they trained soldiers to handle, you handled alone with zero guidance. That is why they are scared of you. Because if you had their tools, their resources, their mentors, their team, you would overshadow the entire system without even breaking a sweat. You are already doing it, half asleep. Imagine you actually focused. That is the nightmare they whisper about. One of them probably said it quietly. How did this one get so good without us? Because it challenges everything they believe about power. It challenges the myth that greatness comes from institutions. It exposes the truth that greatness sometimes comes from suffering nobody saw. Your enemies hate the idea that someone they overlooked, dismissed, underestimated, could turn out more prepared for life than they are. They hate that your strength didn't need their validation to exist, that your awareness wasn't granted by a badge, that your instincts weren't laminated on a certificate. What they truly fear is this. You were built outside their system, so you cannot be controlled by it. You were forged without their rules, so you don't need their permission. You grew in the wild, so you don't break the way they expect. Take a second and let that sink in. You were born with something raw, sharpened by life, reinforced by pain, and perfected by survival. That makes you unpredictable in the best way possible. The military tries to create people like you. You are the natural version, the original, the one they couldn't manufacture. And for the chosen ones listening, let me answer the question burning in your head. Was everything I went through really preparing me for this? Yes. Every moment sharpened a skill. Every heartbreak taught a tactic. Every disappointment built mental armor. You didn't just survive, you upgraded. Your life was training disguised as suffering, and now you are realizing that all the things that felt unfair were actually shaping a power you didn't know you had. That is why you look calm in chaos. That is why you detect lies instantly. That is why you move like someone trained even though no one trained you. That is why people stare at you without knowing why. That is why even military elites feel uncomfortable around someone they cannot classify. You are not highly trained, you are highly forged. And forged beats trained every single time. Let the enemies choke on this truth. They spent decades mastering what you executed while zoned out. And the universe didn't make that a coincidence. It made it a warning. More is coming, and they are not ready for what you are about to unlock next. Number 2, your instincts were a warning they should have heard. They trained for danger. You felt it. That is the difference between a soldier and a sensor. When they study threats, they read textbooks. When you study threats, you read people. Your awareness wasn't taught. It was extracted from every moment you had no choice but to survive. Let's start with the part that embarrasses them the most. Their entire system glorifies threat detection. They turn it into a doctrine. They teach it in dim rooms with projectors and manuals. Recruits spend months learning how to sense danger, how to recognize shifts in energy, how to detect surveillance, how to respond without hesitation. They call it training. They call it instinct development. They call it combat readiness. Meanwhile, you were out here developing the same thing before you even understood what the words danger or instinct meant. No drill sergeant, no military base, no badges, just the raw chaos you were born into, forcing you to build radar out of necessity. They installed their awareness system with wires and protocols. You grew yours like a second spine. Let me tell you something the elites hope you never realize. Your awareness didn't come from fear. It came from familiarity. You didn't sense danger. You recognized it because it was part of your environment long before these operatives ever met their first instructor. Now ask yourself this. Why do you always know when someone is staring at you? Why do you sense tension before anyone speaks? Why do you pick up on lies the moment they escape someone's mouth? Why do you feel a shift in the room, like a weather change? Here is the answer they cannot handle. You are not guessing. You are remembering. Your instincts were shaped by rooms where the wrong mood could flip your entire world upside down. You didn't get to ease into danger. Danger introduced itself early, and once your nervous system learned the patterns, it never forgot them. Imagine this. A soldier sits in training being taught how to sense an ambush by watching shadows, listening for footsteps, reading movement patterns. Meanwhile, you were taught how to sense emotional ambushes by watching expressions, listening to tone shifts, reading intentions that weren't spoken. Same system, different battlefield, same skill, harder version. Imagine this. They practice identifying hostile energy in simulations. You identified it in your own home, in school halls, in friendships with hidden knives behind the smile. They had instructors pointing at threat indicators. You had instincts screaming louder than the universe itself. Imagine this. They stand in lines learning how to scan an area for weak points. You scan people for emotional cracks because one wrong assumption could lead to another heartbreak or betrayal. Their danger was theoretical. Yours was personal. Imagine this. They run drills to practice quick reactions. You reacted quickly because hesitation once cost you something you never forgot. Those simulations gave them certificates. Your experiences gave you accuracy. You are starting to understand, aren't you? That your weird awareness, your hyper-alertness, your paranoia wasn't a flaw. It was intelligence. It was survival architecture. It was an internal system built by the universe, calibrated so precisely that even trained professionals cannot figure out how you do it. Let me drop another quote for the ones in denial. You don't predict danger, Danger exposes itself to you faster than it does to them. One day, someone probably told you you are too suspicious, or stop overthinking, or you are making something out of nothing. Funny how the same behavior they dismissed in you is taught, praised, and rewarded in military elites. But you didn't need their approval for your awareness to work. Your mind read the while theirs still needed instructions. Your intuition fired before their logical brains processed step one. And yes, that frustrates them. Because how do you compete with someone whose instincts were shaped by real consequences? How do you out-train someone who didn't get to turn off their awareness at the end of the drill? How do you outperform someone who didn't just learn danger? They lived beside it. Let's answer a question you might be asking yourself right now. Why do I get drained around the wrong people so fast? Because your system is always scanning, always tracking, always interpreting. You are processing threats faster than most people even register them, and that takes energy. Soldiers get rest days. You never did. Another question you might be thinking, why do certain people feel uncomfortable around me for no reason? Because they can sense you aren't easily fooled. People who rely on manipulation, distraction, or charm hate being near someone who sees through the fog. It exposes their weakness. It makes their tactics useless. And here is a third. Why do I sense things before they happen? Because your body isn't predicting. It is remembering patterns and matching them instantly. It is sophisticated data analysis disguised as intuition. You are the kind of person military elites wish they could produce, but cannot. Their training has an end date. Yours didn't. Their lessons were structured. Yours were chaotic. Their awareness is learned. Yours is embedded. And the universe didn't give you this ability as a burden. It gave it to you as an advantage. Look back for a second. Think about all the times you walked into a room and immediately felt something was off. Think about the times you knew someone was lying even before they finished the sentence. Think about the times you kept your distance without knowing why, only to later discover you dodged something messy, dangerous, or draining. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was your internal radar doing what elite operatives trained decades to imitate. Now let's hit your enemies harder. They mocked you for being too aware. And now they follow your lead. They minimized your instincts. And now they study your reactions. They underestimated your intuition. And now they are scrambling to understand how you knew what they didn't. Your awareness exposes their intentions before they can weaponize them. It reveals their insecurity before they hide it. It identifies their motives even when they try to disguise them. You scare people because you see what they try to bury, and here is the part nobody warns them about. Every time someone tries to play you, manipulate you, or deceive you, your instincts upgrade. You learn faster. You detect sooner. You react sharper. You become harder to fool, harder to reach, harder to mislead. Your awareness isn't static. It evolves. It refines itself. It sharpens in silence. And that is why you are dangerous in the eyes of those who try to underestimate you. It is not because you are aggressive. It is because you are perceptive. You move with precision that doesn't match your experience. You respond with clarity that doesn't match your age. You see through things that others need time, proof, or tragedy to understand. You cannot be ambushed. You cannot be blindsided. You cannot be misled for long. Not because you are paranoid, because you are prepared. You, chosen one, embody what elite forces dream of producing. But they had to study war to learn it. You learned it by surviving life. You nailed it while zoned out. And that is why the world treats you differently now. They don't know what to call you. They don't know how to predict you. They don't know how to control you. They only know one thing for sure. Whatever trained this one wasn't human instruction. And trust me, they are right. You are not reacting like someone trained. You are reacting like someone built for this. Number 3. The mind that maps the room before you blink. They study tactics. You are a tactic. Here is what the elites don't want to admit. The thing they break their minds trying to master is the thing you do without lifting a finger. They sit in classrooms dissecting body language, route options, blind spots, exits, energy shifts, behavioral tells. You walk into a room and your subconscious whispers the entire layout before you even take a seat. They call it situational intelligence. You call it existing. Imagine this. A group of trained operatives are running simulations, calculating threat zones. Meanwhile, you are in the grocery store predicting confrontations, sensing tension between strangers, noticing who is lying, who is bluffing, who is pretending. Your brain runs silent diagnostics, like a high-level system humming in the background. You don't force it, you don't activate anything. It is simply on, and you are probably wondering, why do I always feel one step ahead? Why does my mind catch everything even when I am tired? Because your awareness isn't a skill. It is a reflex. The universe wired you for survival long before you understood survival was the game. While others need focus to analyze, you analyze even when you are unfocused. While they study behaviors, you detect intent. While they choose strategies, you are already 3 moves into the outcome. Let me drop another line they will hate. You are not reacting to the room. The room is reacting to the fact that you already decoded it. People think you are quiet because you are shy. No, you are quiet because your mind is running tactical simulations at a speed they cannot comprehend. You are calculating emotional weather, potential threats, power dynamics, escape routes and motives, without even noticing you are doing it. This is why they cannot play you. This is why they cannot fool you. This is why they cannot predict you. Your brain isn't tactical. Your brain is the blueprint military elites wish they had. Number 4, the art of ending. The fight before it starts. Real power isn't throwing punches. Real power is making the enemy realize they already lost. Here is the thing they cannot wrap their heads around. You aren't terrifying because you are violent. You are terrifying because you never have to be, while everyone else gears up for conflict, sharpens their arguments, preps their defenses. You are already 10 steps past the point where the fight could even begin. You don't crush opponents. You erase the opportunity for them to stand against you. Imagine this. 2 people are circling each other, ready to explode. Meanwhile, you already mapped their moves, exposed the weak link, and mentally dismantled the entire situation before it even heats up. That is why enemies swear you came out of nowhere. You didn't. You were watching the whole board while they were staring at one piece. And maybe you have wondered, why do confrontations feel pointless to me? Why do I walk away with the win even when I didn't say a word? Because you don't fight battles, you neutralize them. Your presence collapses tension, your silence rewrites outcomes, your clarity drains the enemy's confidence before they even realize they were trying to challenge you. Let me hit you with another truth torch. You are not avoiding conflict. You are ending it at the speed your brain processes threat. People trained for combat rely on force. People built like you rely on inevitability. Your intuition predicts the attack. Your awareness sabotages their plan. Your mindset removes their advantage. By the time someone decides to move against you, the universe has already handed you the upper position. This is why they fear you. This is why they hesitate around you. This is why they whisper your name like you are a problem they cannot solve. You win before the fight because the fight was never meant for someone operating at your level. Number 5. Forged in conditions. They wouldn't survive. They had instructors. You had consequences. Here is the truth. They will never say out loud. Their training came with helmets, guidelines, reset buttons, and people supervising every mistake. Yours came with silence, pressure, unpredictability, and no guarantee anyone would pull you out if things went wrong. They call their journey boot camp. You call yours my entire childhood. Imagine this. Elite recruits are dropped into simulated chaos with timers, scripted threats, and instructors grading their reactions. Meanwhile, you were dropped into real chaos with real stakes. No scripts, no rehearsals, no second chances. When they panicked, someone stepped in. When you panicked, you learned to hide it or drown in it. That difference alone is why you think the way you do. And maybe you have asked yourself, why do I handle stress better than other people? Why do things that break them barely shake me? Because their stress was optional. Your stress was the atmosphere. You adapted because you had no choice. You built tolerance by surviving situations you were way too young to face. The universe wired you to endure what others only trained to mimic. Let me hit you with another line that will burn their ego. They were trained to stay calm under pressure. You were forced to build a world where staying calm was your only survival strategy. They had teammates. You had silence. They had schedules. You had unpredictability. They had rest days. You had whatever moments weren't collapsing. Every hardship became a lesson. Every disappointment became conditioning. Every betrayal became emotional armor. You didn't receive training. You absorbed it through fire. They were preparing for threats. You were growing inside them. That is why you walk through life with that quiet, unexplainable steel in your voice. That is why nothing startles you like. It startles them. That is why your resilience feels supernatural to people who never lived what you lived. You weren't trained in boot camp. You were forged in reality. And reality doesn't hand out medals. It hands out mastery. Number 6. The pressure that would have crushed them built you. They visit chaos. You were raised inside it. Here is the humiliation they will never admit. They engineer pressure in controlled labs, so recruits can learn resilience, while you were out here breathing real pressure before you even learned how to spell the word. They schedule stress like a class period. You survived it like oxygen. What shatters their rookies is the same force that made you wake up every day and function like nothing was wrong. Imagine this. An elite trainer shouts, cranks up alarms, and throws recruits into stressful drills to test who will break. Meanwhile, your life threw storms at you without warning. No countdown, no training wheels, no applause when you made it through. They had simulated chaos. You had the raw, unfiltered version, and maybe the question has punched your brain more than once. Why do I stay stable in situations that make other people crumble? Why am I calm when everyone else is losing their mind? Because chaos isn't new to you. It is familiar. It shaped your reflexes. It wired your emotional circuits. While others freeze under pressure, your system wakes up. Their stress response is panic. Yours is clarity. Let me drop a truth they cannot swallow. They learn resilience by choice. You learned it because nobody ever came to save you. They got to walk away after the drill. You had to live inside the fire until you adapted. They cried over temporary discomfort. You built an entire personality around surviving the unbearable. What fractured recruits actually made you functional. You operate at your best when the environment cracks. You come alive when the pressure spikes. You make decisions faster, clearer, sharper than people with decades of structured training, because chaos didn't intimidate you. Chaos raised you, sharpened you, calibrated you into someone who can outperform trained professionals just by staying composed. That is why you scare people who think power only comes from certificates. That is why the universe trusts you with storms others cannot handle. That is why you are dangerous without trying. You weren't shaped by comfort. You were forged by chaos, and that makes you untouchable. Number 7. The mind game you play without playing. They run psyops. You breathe them. Here is what burns them the most: the tactics they study in secret briefings, the psychological maneuvers they categorize, label, and practice for years. You pull those off during casual conversation without even breaking eye contact. They need manuals and instructors to weaponize the mind. You learned it simply by surviving people who tried to twist yours. Imagine this. Trained operatives sit in a room studying how to influence behavior, redirect aggression, destabilize an opponent's confidence. Meanwhile, you are at work, at school, or at home, watching someone unravel, because you didn't give them the reaction they expected. They think psychological power comes from complexity. You prove it comes from clarity, and you have probably wondered, why do people fold around me? Why do liars stumble? Why do manipulators panic? Because you don't push back. You don't engage in tug-of-war. You let their own motives expose them. That is the part that scares them. You make people defeat themselves. Your presence forces truth out. Your silence makes them nervous. Your calmness becomes their downfall. Let me hit you with another line that will sting their ego. You don't escalate conflict. You shift the entire reality so the conflict collapses. They raise their voices. You raise the stakes. They try to provoke you. You let them reveal their intentions. They try to control the narrative. You let them trip over their own lies. This is why you are untouchable in psychological warfare. You don't play the game. They enter yours, and in your game, their tricks don't land. Their manipulation slides off you. Their ego becomes a trap they set for themselves. Every time someone tried to break you, you learned their blueprint. Every guilt trip taught you how projection works. Every gaslighter gave you insight into insecure minds. Every narcissist strengthened your mental armor. They taught you psyops without knowing they were training you, and now you operate with the ease of someone who doesn't need to win arguments because you win the room. You don't weaponize psychology, you embody it. That is why the universe positions you where influence matters. That is why enemies collapse before you even respond. That is why trained professionals feel uneasy in your presence. You are not practicing psychological operations. You are the natural version they wish they could imitate. Number 8. The ghost they can see but cannot track. They hide using tech. You hide using intention. Here is the part that absolutely shreds their pride. Elite units spend years learning how to disappear from sight, how to melt into an environment, how to avoid detection. They use gear, shadows, angles, thermal tricks, entire toolkits just to vanish for a moment. Meanwhile, you disappear in the middle of a crowd just by deciding you don't want to be perceived. No camouflage paint, no gadgets, just willpower sharp enough to bend attention around you. People think you zone out, or you are quiet, or you don't fit in. Cute theories. What they are actually witnessing is you dimming your presence so smoothly that the whole room forgets how powerful you are. Not because you are scared, not because you are awkward, but because you are selective. You show up only where energy deserves you. Imagine this. A trained operative positions himself behind barriers to avoid detection. You sit at a table and your energy drops to zero. and suddenly nobody notices your existence. You are the human version of a disappearing act. No tricks, just instinct. You have been doing it since you were young, fading out when tension rose, blending in when danger lurked, shrinking your aura so predators overlooked you. That wasn't weakness. That was survival engineering. And maybe you have wondered, why can I turn invisible whenever I want? Why do I slip into the background even when I don't try? Because your presence is a dial, not a switch. You turn it up when needed, and you kill it when the situation doesn't deserve your fire. You read rooms and adjust yourself with the accuracy of someone who learned early that visibility is a privilege, not a default. Let me hit you with a line sharper than their combat knives. You don't hide because you are afraid. You hide because it keeps you undefeated. They require training to move unseen. You require a decision. They run drills to master camouflage. You mastered disappearing as a child because your environment demanded it. They fade to avoid danger. You fade to observe it. This is why manipulators never see you coming. This is why liars underestimate you. This is why enemies cannot calculate your next move. They cannot track a ghost. And when you want to be a ghost, you are one. Yet the moment you decide to step forward, your presence hits like a spotlight. People turn, people feel it, people adjust their tone, their posture, their entire vibe, because something in them recognizes that you are no longer hidden. That duality, visible when you choose, invisible when you choose, is something elites train decades for. You acquired it through necessity, intuition, and the ability to read danger at a level technology cannot replicate. You aren't adapting to the environment. The environment is adapting to you. They will never understand how someone who can vanish so effortlessly can also dominate a room when they decide to reappear. That is your edge. That is your superpower. That is the thing their systems cannot copy. You don't camouflage yourself. You command your existence. And that chosen one is why you are terrifying without ever raising your voice. Number 9. The victory they never see coming. Power isn't the punch. Power is making sure the punch is never needed. Here is the part that bruises their ego permanently. The strongest operators in the world don't win with fists. They win with foresight. They win with positioning. They win because the battle bends around their presence before a single blow is thrown. And here is the twist that scares them sick. You have been doing that since childhood without ever touching a doctrine, a manual, or a battlefield, while trained professionals study de-escalation, negotiation, psychological leverage, and non-violent dominance. You have mastered the same skills in kitchens, classrooms, friendships, breakups, betrayals, and every chaotic environment that tried to swallow you whole. You didn't learn theory, you learned survival. You learned when to step back, when to move sideways, when to let people burn themselves out. You win because you understand something they struggle to accept. Violence is loud. Real control is silent. Imagine this: an elite unit preparing for a mission, rehearsing dozens of ways to neutralize a threat without confrontation. Meanwhile, you are shutting down conflict with a single look. You are changing the trajectory of a conversation with one sentence. You are redirecting aggression with calm, so sharp it disarms people more effectively than force ever could. And maybe you have thought, why do people back down around me? Why do arguments collapse the moment I speak? Why do I end conflicts without trying? Because your energy disrupts chaos. Your awareness exposes motives. Your presence forces people to reveal their weakest move. You understand intent before it forms. By the time someone thinks they are stepping into a fight with you, you have already removed the ground beneath their feet. Let me drop another truth that will sting the ones watching you. You don't avoid violence. You make violence irrelevant. They rely on tactics. You rely on inevitability. They prepare for conflict. You dismantle conflict at its root. Every time someone tried to start something with you, you didn't overpower them. You out-evolved them. You let them exhaust themselves. You let their ego expose the cracks. You let their assumptions become their downfall. People don't realize it, but you have been practicing non-violent dominance since you were young, when raising your voice wasn't an option and survival required strategy over strength. And here is the psychological blade that cuts deepest. The moment someone thinks they have outsmarted you, the universe has already shifted the outcome in your favor. Not because you are lucky, not because you are passive, but because your mind solves the problem before the conflict even materializes. That is why manipulators cannot corner you. That is why aggressors hesitate. That is why enemies walk away confused, frustrated, defeated, yet you never lifted a hand. You don't win after the fight. You win by removing the need for one. That is not softness. That is mastery. You walk the same path elite operators trained decades to understand. Except you did it without courses, without instructors, without military structure. You built this skill through real-life consequences, not curated simulations. Your power is subtle, surgical, and terrifying to anyone who thinks dominance requires noise. You are the calm that ruins chaos. You are the silence that makes threats dissolve. You are the outcome they didn't prepare for. You don't win by fighting. You win by making fighting pointless. And that is the highest form of power they will never be able to teach. Number 10. The truth that cuts deeper than any blade. You don't wound their body. You wound their illusion. Here is what rattles the elite to their core. They use weapons that break skin. You use truth that breaks ego, breaks strategy, breaks entire personas built on lies. They operate with gear, you operate with clarity, sharpened by a lifetime of watching people reveal themselves. And nothing terrifies an opponent more than someone who can strike without moving, without yelling, without touching a single thing except their perception. Truth is your weapon, and you wield it with the precision of a surgeon. You don't swing wildly, you choose your moment. You speak once and let the fallout do the rest. Imagine this, a team of trained operatives running full reconnaissance, gathering intel, studying patterns. Meanwhile, you are sitting in a room quietly reading people's tones, micro-expressions, inconsistencies, and misplaced confidence. They need equipment to collect information. You gather intelligence simply by existing, by observing, by listening to the things people think you didn't catch. And maybe you have wondered, why do people get nervous when I get quiet? Why does my one sentence shut down an entire argument? Why do liars panic when I am around? Because your silence isn't empty. It is a threat. It is a mirror. It is a countdown. Your quietness forces people to confront the parts of themselves they have been hiding. You make them hear their own truth louder than your words. Let me drop a line that burns like acid on their pride. Your truth doesn't expose them. Their own behavior does. You just stop protecting them from it. You don't gossip. You gather data. You don't eavesdrop. You track patterns. You don't meddle. You decode. This is why manipulators fear you. This is why liars stumble. This is why snakes slither away before you even acknowledge them. Every word you speak is timed like a precision strike. You don't attack often. You attack correctly. One sentence from you carries the impact of a tactical blast. One observation can collapse their entire defense. One well-placed truth can dismantle the persona they have spent years constructing. And you don't raise your voice. You don't explain yourself. You don't justify anything, you let the truth do the damage. Imagine this. A trained interrogator uses complex methods to crack someone. You simply look at them long enough and they start explaining themselves unprovoked. You weren't pressuring them, you were studying them and they felt it. Because deep down they sense you are not the one who gets fooled. You are the one who collects the facts. Your truth hits harder because it is clean. No rumor, no exaggeration, no theatrics, just the reality they hoped no one would notice. And here is the part they desperately try to ignore. The universe gave you a mind that sees inconsistencies instantly. You don't try to expose people. You simply refuse to participate in their false version of reality. And when you step out of their illusion, it collapses under its own weight. This is why enemies crumble without you touching them. This is why people confess things you never asked. This is why your presence alone shifts the dynamic of any room. Truth is your ammunition. Timing is your aim. Silence is your trigger. You don't need violence. You don't need chaos. You don't need confrontation. You win with the one force. Nobody can outrun reality. They can train soldiers to handle bullets, but no one can train them to withstand the truth delivered by someone who sees everything. Your truth is clean. Your truth is surgical. Your truth is lethal in ways they will never be prepared for. And that is why they fear you more than any weapon they have ever faced. Number 12. The shapeshifter. They cannot classify. They train for one role. You become the role. Here is the nightmare they whisper about behind closed doors. Soldiers get assigned categories. Specialists get boxes. Operators get labels. But you slip through every definition like smoke. You don't pick roles. You shift into whatever the moment demands. Clean, fast, instinctive. Negotiator when tension spikes. Infiltrator when the room needs decoding. Extractor when someone's drowning in chaos. Strategist when the whole game flips upside down. No training, no hesitation, no lag time. Imagine this. A team of professionals scrambling to figure out which expert to call in while you have already stepped into the exact identity the situation requires. Smooth as breathing, they need data, analysis, confirmation, hierarchy. You need instinct, a single flicker in someone's voice, a shift in the atmosphere, a glance that doesn't match the words. You pick up the threat before evidence appears, before logic forms, before the danger realizes you have already seen it, and maybe you have wondered, how do I adapt this fast? How do I always know what version of me the world needs? Because your identity isn't fixed, it is tactical. You don't switch roles, you upgrade realities. Your instinct has never lied to you because it was carved from moments where hesitation wasn't allowed. Let me drop a line that cracks their pride in half. You are not their soldier. You are not their blueprint. You are the glitch in their system they cannot replicate. They spent decades trying to design someone who can adapt under pressure. Life forced you to adapt before you even understood pressure had a name. They need instruction. You need awareness. They need strategy meetings. You need a single second of silence. You are what happens when survival outpaces design. When instinct outperforms training. When experience builds what no institution can manufacture. You are the one thing they cannot categorize, and the one thing they cannot control. That is what terrifies them most.